Okay. Well, I'm taking over duties for Emmett today as he's on a kind of opportune and well-timed retreat in Vermont somewhere, I believe. And yeah, so home is a place where we get to learn about kind of questions and experiences that we have in our daily life through the filter and lens of a Tibetan Buddhist lineage. And Phuntsok's teachings as an individual who's had a very interesting life and has been offering these practices for a mysterious number of years that always seems to be 2, but I think it's over 5 now, somewhere. And have usually been in his apartment in Bushwick, and now, of course, with everything going on, we're kind of luckily can have the access to this virtually, and also kind of the bittersweetness of not being in person as well. So today's topic are about the worldly concerns, and I wonder if that topic was sent in by anybody in the meeting in the circle today. Okay, well, yeah, worldly concerns, my very basic understanding of them are that they're kind of things that all of us share and kind of have a desire for, such as being happy, maybe even being well known, feeling praised for our actions, and kind of gaining in some way, whether that's wealth or through kind of friendships or love. And they have their corollaries, such as suffering, such as being insignificant, or kind of loss and grief. And the email was saying that they're all very natural things for us to desire and to connect with, but sometimes our attachments to them can cause us suffering. So I think Phuntsok is going to speak about that today. And just before he starts, I want to just say that I'll put in the chat Phuntsok's Venmo address for donations, and also his Patreon website, which has all of these talks and talks going back for a long time that you can have access to for free. And you can also decide to make a kind of monthly donation to this whole offering. So yeah, I think that's Phuntsok, you can take it from here.
All right, thank you. Am I if I play around with a background?
Yeah, please.
I got the green, might as well use it. How's this? Nah. About this? No. All right, how about this? When I have a better image, I'll test it with that. Okay. All right, so thank you very much, everyone, for joining. Wonderful to see you all. And we are going to talk about a topic that basically you encounter very early on in your studies of when you're studying Buddhism in general. It's not just Tibetan Buddhism, all form of Buddhism, everywhere they talk about them. And you can say every philosophy in some form or another, they talk about them. There are psychological states that we encounter on a daily basis, and they seem insignificant, but they play an extremely significant role in determining the experiences that we have, the kinds of experience that we have, the kinds of reactions that we have to our experiences. So it's very important for us to get to know them, but not only to know them as a list living on a, not even living, but just residing or existing on a piece of paper somewhere in some kind of a book, but rather in our own lives. Where do we encounter them, and to what degree that we encounter them? Because they will manifest in various degrees. Sometimes we might even convince ourselves, thinking that we have completely rid ourselves of these kinds of psychological triggers, and yet they are there still governing us, determining our experiences. So it's very good to get to know them, to get to know them well. You can even say that master meditators who've gone through all the various stages of transformation and have reached very high degrees of attainment. And once they reach a certain great degree of attainment, then they go back to talking about these very things that seems to be very primary, very elementary, and that they talk about them in such, with such with such veracity that they are like warning us, hey, you better really take care of these things, because as we will discover, if you don't take care of them, even though you're making progress along the way, it's really those things which are making progress along the way. And one day you will find yourself not being able to go any further. You find yourself stuck and you may not even know why, but it's actually one of these is actually holding you back because they were strengthened to a very great degree. Okay. All right. So we will do the format meditation and then talk and then question and discussion, and then we'll go into and closing meditation. Okay. All right. First, bring yourself to a posture that is conducive to meditation. After you have a clear communication to your entire being, your intention, I'm going to meditate, and holding in your mind some instinctive understanding of what meditation is, and just be in that instinctive understanding and let your body naturally respond, let your mind naturally respond, let the different parts of you naturally respond. There is this protector within us. Sometimes it overprotects. And we have to respect that what it wants is to protect us, not bash it because it's overprotecting, but respect that it is seeking to protect us. And because of that, we hold tension. There's a sense of holding tension. Okay. So that part within us, that unconscious part that is holding on to tension, have a communication with it. And the way we do that, it's for it to let the body go, is to be reassure it that the body is protected, that the body is supported. So really feel the point of contact between your body and your seat. The place where the contact that is being communicated, that is being experienced with your body and the earth, you could say. And just be aware of that. And that itself is communicating. You're supported, you're being held, and that unconscious part that is worried about you, that is creating tension, now it can let the body go. When you say let go, you can let go now with a sense of confidence. Let go. And just by that alone, you're beginning to let go. You notice you're beginning to touch the meditative state. The very early signs of calmness and pleasantness are beginning to be felt in the body itself. When you make contact with that, have the joyful confidence that, good, I'm entering the meditative state. And once you feel confident in the posture, in its comfort, in its stability, and that part of the mind, that part of us that wants to protect is at ease, it can let go, it trusts the earth to hold you, to support you, because there is the palpable awareness of it. And bring that understanding of what meditation is and your motivation for entering into that state. And if you allow yourself, you will notice the natural intelligence in the body is already responding. It knows what meditation is. It knows how to get into it. So it will communicate to you in terms of making adjustments that you feel like impulse, but it's actually that intelligence communicating to you. So take it with respect, with reverence, the adjustments you make in the legs, in the torso, in the shoulders, arms, and hands, how you center the head and neck so there's no conscious effort in holding them in place, allowing the mouth, teeth, and tongue to simply rest in their natural places, feeling the sense of calming in the muscles of the face and forehead, allowing the eyes to sort of rest softly. However, resting softly for your eyes can be experienced, whether completely closed, slightly closed, slightly open, fully open, looking straight ahead, whatever give you the sense of the eyes resting for you. Now think of this as about to make a commitment to fully enter into the meditative state. You're as if you're on the bridge about to cross over into the meditative state experience. And the way we commit ourselves is with that deep breath. So feeling ready to enter into that state, into that experience. Take a nice deep breath in through the nose, gently, fully. Hold if you want to for a second or two. And through the mouth, just completely release. And as you release, let go, let go, let go, let go, let go, let go. Feel the letting go in the body. Stay in that momentum of letting go. Stay letting go. Keep letting go. Keep letting go. Keep letting go. Keep letting go. Stay in that momentum. Stay in that momentum. And as you stay in that momentum, notice the calm enhancing in the body. Notice the pleasantness enhancing in the body. Notice the calm enhancing in the breath and the mind. To whatever measure, to whatever degree that they are there, notice them, rejoice, welcome them, celebrate their presence. Stay in that momentum of letting go, letting go, letting go, letting go. And whatever is happening now, consider to be part of your meditative experience. Don't have any critical judgment in terms of this is not meditation. It's the same thing as I'm experiencing here, things I experience when I'm not meditating. It's considered to be like similar things that you find visiting a new country. It's still a new country. So keep that attitude. Everything that you're experiencing is part of the meditation, even if it's already very familiar. And keep going. Now, within that phase, within that space of experience, gently now scan the body. And as you scan the body, stay connected to the signs that you are in the meditative state to some degree. The legs, relax, rejoice. The torso, upright, not uptight, relaxed. The pleasantness, rejoice. The arms from the shoulders all the way to the fingers. The head and neck. The mouth, teeth, tongue, even there you will notice, if you allow yourself, the signs are present there, the calm, the pleasantness. The muscles of the face, even in your eyes as they rest softly. Now that we are definitely in the meditative space, now we can stabilize something, we can enhance something. With that intention to enhance and stabilize, we will take 3 full breaths, just like before. And as you breathe out through the mouth, really have the sense of the attitude of completely releasing, completely letting go, completely surrendering to the experience that is arising. And notice these inner senses sharpening, strengthening. That's a sign of clarity and radiance showing up. Rejoice with that. So through the nose, gently breathe in, staying connected to the signs as you do so. And through the mouth, completely release. And as you release, feel the enhancement, stay with the enhanced state as you breathe in the next. And again, through the mouth, release. Notice any measure of enhancement, rejoice in that enhancement. Stay with that measure of enhancement as you take the next third breath. Through the nose, breathe in. And through the mouth, let go. And immediately rejoice as you witness the enhancement in the signs appearing in the body, appearing in the breath, appearing in the mind, the signs of calm and pleasantness, the signs of the inner sensation pointing to that's the clarity of the mind, that's the luminosity of the mind. And gently in that state, raise your attention to the level of your eyebrows. And some sensation will be felt there, and that's a sign of the natural ability of the mind to focus, whatever that sensation may be. And have a deep, deep wish to encounter that part of you that seemed to already know, that's guiding you, that wisdom part. How do we know when we have encountered truth? If we don't know it, if there's no part of us that knows, there's a part of us that already knows. It is the one that sort of validates for us in wishing to encounter it. Don't imagine it to be anything, just have that wish. Like you're calling someone and you're waiting for the person to answer. You're not imagining that you're having a conversation while it's ringing, but you have the confidence that there will be a response of some sort. And as you continue to have that, focusing your attention at that space in front of you, that sensation in the forehead may get a bit stronger. Now, imagine there's a tiny point of light appearing in that space. As though the very aspiration is creating a tear in the fabric of time and space, about to reveal to you something that is timeless and cannot be found in any location, and yet can be found. And that tiny point of tear in space and time, it's extremely bright. And it begins to expand the more your aspiration grows. And eventually it becomes significant in size, almost the size of a person. And you have a sense of all the answers you seek are in that, come from that. And have a sense of openness, a sense of readiness. There are questions I've asked, I've not had the answers because I was not ready. Now feel a sense of make yourself ready to receive. And towards that, understanding this is your potential, have a deep sense of respect, a deep sense of trust and gratitude. And if you have a very palpable sensation in the forehead, have now the aspiration to be inseparable with this light presence. And following that, your aspiration, feel that sensation that's now in the forehead move to the crown. And that presence is now above your head, shining brightly, and it's sort of raining light on you. And just be open. There are things that are happening that you will not right now be able to perceive, but you're open to receive them. There are things maybe that you're ready to witness, and you may witness them. So be ready to witness them. Just be in that sense of readiness, openness, and just receive the shower of light. And keep relaxing. The more you relax, the more you are open to receive. And with a sense of readiness to whatever degree that you can be open and be ready, invite that bright presence into the very center of your heart. And with a breath, take that light in through the crown of your head. And when it comes to rise, to come to reside in your heart, just completely surrender and feel its presence radiating through you from your heart. Have no expectations of what the experience should be, should not be. And continue to simply be open. And think of this innate wisdom guiding now how you relate with the world. Don't use imagination if you don't have to. Just have that sense of readiness, that sense of confidence that it's already there. Okay, now get ready to come out of the meditation. First, take a survey of being in the meditative state. Notice the signs, notice their presence to whatever degree that they are present. Rejoice wherever they are manifesting, appearing in the body, in the breath, or the mind, energetically, biologically, in the nerves. And have a sense of openness to receive, to understand. And with that intention to come out, take a nice deep breath that you feel in here, in through the nose, out the mouth, and deliberately, consciously reconnect with your environment through your sense of touch. Be aware of the temperature, be aware of the feel of the clothing on you, be aware of your cushion, be aware of the sounds, be aware of the lights, the colors, the shapes. Okay. All right, not too bad. We might be able to end on time. All right. Where should we begin with the 8 worldly thoughts? And I think the confusion, not the confusion in terms of a confusion of understanding, but confusion in terms of implementing these teachings on the so-called 8 worldly concerns, 8 worldly dharmas. There are so many translations of them. Jikten Chögye, 8 things connected to the world. There's even, I think the latest translation I've heard of them is the 8 worldly winds. And I understand why whoever translated it as the winds, I understand why they translate it as the winds, even though there's no word winds in the actual word that term that they're translating. But it's like winds, like something that goes like this, which is unsteady, and it goes very well with the word that is translated as worldly. The word that is translated as worldly, it means that which you cannot fully rely on. That's the word that actually translated as the world. Okay, Jikten, and it actually has the word frightful in it, like the basis that if you depend on it will bring about terrible fright. That's a kind of that's the word that's the literal translation of the word that becomes world. Okay, and we have to understand that in order to understand why there are so many translations of the term that where you have now the eight worldly dharmas, the eight worldly thoughts, the eight worldly concerns, the eight worldly winds. I think Berzin put in the meaning of unreliable quality of the worldly part, and when he translated as the eight transitory something thoughts or activities of metro, but you put the word transitory in there. Okay. And the thing is, the world that we experience has a nature that makes it the world as it is. We have a nature that makes us as we are. And then because of the nature that, because of our natures, when we interact with each other, we have experience. Okay, so our experience depends on the nature of the world and the nature of ourselves. And there is a nature that we all share in common that allow us to actually have interaction, to have that we can relate with one another. If we did not share some sort of common nature, some sort of ability to relate, let's call it that, ability to relate, then the world would not affect us. We could be, there wouldn't be anything that's happening in the world that would make us happy or sad or make us anything happen to us. And there wouldn't be anything that we would do that would that would do anything to the world that would pollute the world or purify the world. Okay, it's because we share. There's a quality that we share that makes us able to relate with one another. Okay, and the same thing with whoever or whatever that you encounter. The very act of encountering, the very act of meeting, means that there is something relatable with that we share, that we have with one another. Okay? And it's because of this relatable nature, that's what makes the eight, I don't know, what should I call it? The eight worldly what? Eight worldly concerns, eight worldly thoughts, eight worldly dharmas. I'm probably gonna be, depending on my mood and what I want to, what I'm feeling like, I might use a different term, okay? Eight anxieties about the world. Okay. The instinct that we have, and this instinct is an instinct that we have because we are beings. You can even say the very definition of being is because of these instincts or this nature of being, right? Where either we deal with them with this kind of thing directly, or we try to deal with it indirectly. That is, those two things that we want. We want to be happy, be content, and we want to avoid pain. That, you could say, is the very definition of a being, a pain avoider and a pleasure or happiness seeker. That's what defines us. But unfortunately, in this very definition of our being, and you could say in the very exercise of trying to fulfill the definition of our being, that's where we run into trouble. And because we run into trouble, then we run into all means of trying to avoid the kind of trouble that we run into. We have all kinds of ideas, philosophies, methods of trying to deal with this very trouble that we encounter in trying to fulfill the definition of being a being. Okay. And to the point where there are even philosophies, there are even thoughts that say, well, the only way to get rid of this this impulse that defines being as a being is to stop being a being. And sometimes I have to say, sometimes we would like to experience, we would like that. We are so fed up with the troubles that we encounter with trying to avoid those two things that defines being. Okay, where do I sign? Where do I cancel the contract of being a being so I can stop being a being? So I don't have to bother with this anymore. But unfortunately, there is no such contract. Okay, you cannot stop being a being. You're a being. You are a being forever. For as long as you are a being, you will seek to fulfill the definition of being. Okay, whether you're a highly evolved being or not so highly evolved being, you are fulfilling that definition. Okay, those who have achieved what you might call transcendence have not transcended the what defines them as being. They just, you could say, they've reached a point, they reach a level of awareness where they've now finally fulfilled it. They no longer run into trouble in trying to fulfill that. Okay, so when we encounter the list, especially me, when I encountered about you, but I'm sure many of you have encountered the list before. When I first encountered the list, my first reaction was, so what's the problem? why is this why is this a list of problems? What you talking about? The way it is presented, and now here's the list. Uh, uh, being happy when you get what you want. Being unhappy when you lose something or when you don't get what you want. And I say, what's wrong with that? Isn't that what? What's wrong with that? Okay. And then the next one. So they come in pairs. So that talks to you, that's also in secretly pointing to something about duality. Okay. So gain and loss, right? Being happy when things are going well, being unhappy when things are not going well. And I'm saying, and then where's the problem here? Why is that list in the list of things that we have to get rid of? We have to really be concerned about. Okay, all right. So that's some people translate it, I think, very nicely as pleasure and pain. Okay, when we have pleasure and we have pain, we react. We hope for pleasure, we seek pleasure, we are afraid of pain, and we want to get rid of pain. We run away from pain. Okay, so that's the two pairs already. Now there are two other pairs, right? And one of them is, I think the term fame is good, but sometimes fame seems to be like too broad, too big, right? It's really being concerned about how people think about you, right? Whether you're known or not, or not known at all, being insignificant. So fame and insignificance. That's two good translations so far for those two, for that pair. And the last pair is sometimes, I mean, I'm not giving them in the exact order that they're listed. The last one to be listed here is when you are praised, when you're recognized for having done something and you're praised for it, and when you get blamed. Okay, so you can say that you can sort of make them into 16 even, right? Being happy when you get something, being unhappy when you don't get something, being happy when you had something and you lost it, right? Or you can say being unhappy when there's something you want to lose, but you can't lose it. You have something you want to get rid of, but you can't seem to get rid of it. Okay. And in such a ways, you can sort of like see how they, you can sort of like manipulate them and come up with different numbers of them. But that's the main thing, right? So getting, not getting, being happy, pleasure and pain, being unhappy, being happy or unhappy, being praised or being blamed, being well known or being unknown. Okay, so these are the things, and to a certain degree, every single being has, you could say, that instinct of that defines us as beings, puts us into this seeking, into this seeking of fulfilling fulfilling the definition of being. We find ourselves having these kinds of attachments. Okay, and the reason that we find it difficult to get rid of them is because we have not really resolved sufficiently why we have these things. and what is it that what is it that we are seeking to fulfill through them. Okay, it's not so much that don't seek to have any gain whatsoever. Get over yourself when you lose something immediately. Don't worry. Don't have any worry about losing anything. Or when you have a good reputation or bad reputation, you shouldn't be worried about those kinds of things. But rather, it's the sort of like the sense of dependency that we develop, because there's already a big governing mindset that is governing how we are relating with the world. And unfortunately, this big governing mindset is not something that is coming from a realistic understanding of the world, a really realistic understanding of ourselves or our relations with the world. It's coming from an active misunderstanding. Okay, because of this active misunderstanding, in seeking to fulfill the two objectives of that defines being a being, to fulfill being a being. So with this misunderstanding guiding us, then we end up develop a sense of a dependence on, you could say, having within ourselves a sense of dependence on something that we should not be dependent on in order to give us the fulfillment that we seek. Okay, so let me say it again, because I have to hear myself say it again. Okay. Because we are relying on something that cannot be relied on to fulfill this definition of being, that's where we run into trouble. That's where these become the very nice word that they use, I'm not even sure to what degree, perishable, unreliable, basically unreliable. We are relying on something that is unreliable. And it is not unreliable in a sense of seeking to deceive us, but rather its very nature is unreliable. And again, this unreliable quality is not so much that you want to go this way and then it will go that way, but rather it appears to be going this way, and we rely on it to continue to go that way. But it's not in its nature to continue to go that way. And we are relying on it to continue to go that way. And then because we are expecting it to continue to go that way, and that's not what its aim is supposed to be, and it goes another way, and we really want it to go that way, then we become disappointed. So the lesson, one of the primary lessons to be learned about avoiding this sort of false reliance on things to fulfill the nature of our being is to avoid disappointments. Okay. It is not in the nature of things, whatever that is, and the word thing here, I'm using it in the same way that they use as a direct translation of the word dharma, and it's not in the organic or inorganic kind of translation. That whatever you encounter, whether it's organic or inorganic, whether it's a being or non-being, whether it's an object or a subject, whatever that you encounter, you have a sense of encountering, right? Whatever that you have a sense of encountering, to make it the thing that will fulfill the definition of being is asking too much of it. Okay. And it will disappoint you because it is not in its nature to do that for you. It's not in its nature to do that for us. Yes, there will be gain. Yes, there will be loss. Yes, there will be praise. Yes, there will be blame. Yes, there will be notoriety, and there will be not known at all or having bad reputation. Yes, these things will happen, but do not depend on them, whether you get them or not get them, whether you have them and lose them, to fulfill the definition of being. It is not in their nature. And it is not in your nature to fulfill that for someone else. Okay? You might want to do that, but what we will end up doing is we will be deceiving someone. We'll be misleading them. Yes, you might be going along a certain way, and the person wants to go along that way, and then being with you will get them seemingly to get there. But your nature is not to get them there. Right? We want someone to depend on. We want to depend on someone to take us somewhere, and we want to be reliable to take someone somewhere. And there's nothing wrong with that. But the thing is, be careful of disappointment. It's not that you are holding this person on your shoulder so that you can drop them one day. And it's not that this person is holding you on their shoulders so that they can drop you one day neither. Okay? It's not there's no such intention there. But it is because of the nature of things. Remember, and I'm using the word unreliable because of the psychological impact of that word, unreliable. Okay. And if you are relating with something, someone, whatever, a glass of Negroni, and they happen to have the best gin and the best, never mind. And somehow you think that this contentment that you have with Negroni is from Negroni. Yes, maybe many times you encounter that, even the same brand, the same bartender, and it seems to be consistent, but it's not in its nature to be consistent. Okay? It cannot hold its nature up for you so that it can be a reliable source for you to have fulfillment with. It cannot do that. Just like you cannot hold the nature that you have right now. And it's because of this incredible miracle of interrelations. And that is intrinsic in the nature of everyone. Our very being is an expression of relations. If relations cease, if relations cease, then there will be no being. There will be no experiences. There will be no existence. But unfortunately, sorry, that will never happen. There will be some experience some way or another. We can have you could say the delusion. We can have the delusion of experience a sense of kind of non-existence, where it feels like we don't exist anymore. It is possible to have that. That is part of the incredible mystery and majesty and incredible magical qualities of being, that it can actually, it is so transcendent. It is such something you cannot pin down. Its very nature is unpin-downable, that it can actually have an experience of itself as not existing. But unfortunately, that cannot be relied upon. That experience is not something you can rely upon. Okay, its very nature needs listen to this. The the very thing that makes this experience of a feeling or experiencing that you're not existing is something that is brought about by relationships, things that are constantly relating with each other. Okay, so it's not so much like it's not so much like a bad news about relating, but rather it's pointing to the nature of experiences. And because now the nature of experiences is being pointed out to you, now you can sort of I would say, match. I don't know if that's a good thing to say, but you can match your expectations with that instead. Okay. If you match your expectations with that, then you, in a sense, participate in that flow. You're no longer resisting the flow of constant relating and interrelating and trying to hold in space and time onto something that cannot be held on. You cannot be held on to. Okay. And unfortunately, that's what we are seeking to do all the time. Whenever we feel disappointed, it's because some part of us was trying to hold on to something that that you cannot hold on to. That the very nature of the thing is not something that can be held on to. It's like trying to hold on to the wind, as they would say, right? Its very nature is not something that you can hold on to. Never mind those vacuum seal things, okay? It's about in your hands, okay? You smart people. Okay? So disappointment is a sign that we were trying to hold on to something whose very nature is not something that you can hold on to. That's one thing, okay? And it's not, hearing this is not so much to say that, okay, now stop everything. Don't try to gain anything. Don't try to lose anything. It's, it seems to be what Milarepa, Nagarjuna, and all those great yogis, that's what they seem to be saying. That's what it seems like they're telling me when they say to let go of the 8 worldly concerns. But are they seeking to gain something? Aren't they seeking to lose something? Aren't they happy when certain things are lost? Don't they feel some sort of sense of disappointment when they've gained something that was precious to them that they've lost? Okay. But rather is to have that attitude of mind of readiness, where here is, so the first thing was to avoid being disappointed, right? The second thing, the second layer of experience, that's why the teachings on the 8 worldly concerns are presented, is to avoid a sense of I would say overreaction. And I would say that might even be even probably even the most prominent reason as to why the eight thoughts are taught, right? It's when things are going well, in addition to that, there's a grasping to what's going on. That is, I want it to no longer be its nature of something that is just the coming together of relationships. I want it to stay exactly as it is forever. There is that within us that is not, it's not a conscious effort, but it's somewhere unconsciously with us. We want this to continue. We want this to stay. And there's nothing wrong with wanting it to stay, but we don't understand the nature of it. And we are grasping at what we misunderstand. And through that misunderstanding, we are imposing, or we are making a wish on it, okay? So then the overreaction that we have is we have a sense of elation, a sense of what you might call overjoyed. Okay, and the over meaning like the sense of it, your emotion has reached a point where it's spilled where it should not have spilled. Okay, that's in the sense of being overjoyed. And because you're overjoyed, we're not talking about bliss here, okay? We're talking about being overjoyed. Overjoyed in the sense that there is in there either conscious or mostly unconscious an expectation for it to remain just as it is. For it to basically to stop being its eternal nature, to suddenly stop for you, okay? And we become overjoyed. Things are going well. And then because we become overjoyed, when the thing behaves the way it's supposed to behave, which is it's unreliable in a sense of it's just the coming together of things. And when certain things no longer are present, then it's no longer there, it transforms into something else, then we experience loss. And because we were overjoyed when loss is experienced, now we are depressed. It's like we shoot ourselves up only to bang ourselves to the ground. Okay, that's what happens when we are over relying on things. Okay, so and what is it that what is it that is happening? It seems to be fulfilling the definition of being. We gain, we experience a happiness, and the happiness is because a sense of satisfaction, because we set out to have an experience, and then we have it. Okay, whatever the experience is, whatever it is that we gain, whether it is an object, whether it's an emotion, whether it's a sense of knowledge. So, and because of that, it makes us, it frees us from the probably the discomfort that we will experience because of its absence. Now that it is present, that sense of absence is gone. Now we have a sense of gain, and we naturally have a sense of contentment. And when this contentment when this contentment arrives, we misunderstand the contentment, and we grasp at the contentment because somewhere we think, of course, misunderstanding is guiding this. We think we have, I have fulfilled the definition of my being. I have reached the definition of my being. We don't say it. We don't even know that we would not even, probably before tonight, we probably never even thought that such a thing would happen in our minds. But somewhere deep within us, that's what we feel as has taken place. We have fulfilled the very definition of being a being. Of course, if you fulfill the definition of being a being, you want that to continue. You don't want to lose that. It's like the disappointment of reaching some sort of high. You think you reached the epitome, the highest kind of realization that there can be. I don't know if any of you have experienced that. You've experienced the highest experience that you think that could ever take place, and then later on, only to find that no, that wasn't the highest thing, and you feel a sense of disappointment. Why there is that disappointment? Because we were grasping onto the experience, trying to force upon it a nature that is not what it is. So when we have that sense of contentment, when we have gain, we immediately tell ourselves unconsciously, I have fulfilled the nature of fulfilled the definition of being. And I don't blame you. Why should we blame ourselves? I mean, this is something that we want to get. It's something that we want to get to. That's the reason that we are beings, to fulfill the definition of being. And whenever we think we have the slightest taste of it, of course we should rejoice. But the thing is that was not the fulfillment of the definition of being, but rather the way we should experience that, the way we should think about it, the way we should relate to it, is that, this is reminding me of my being. This is reminding me of my being. It's not that this is the fulfillment of the definition of being. This is reminding me of my being. And we should be very thankful to it and have an understanding that once it's finished its message, without it even wanting to, it will not be there anymore. Okay? It might stay with you for a second, it might stay with you for 10 years, it might stay with you for 20 years, it might stay with you for a very long time. But always remember that it's reminding you of something that is part of your intrinsic reality or intrinsic state, intrinsic nature. Okay. So when we have that experience of gain, we are grateful. We should be grateful for it reminding us. And in the same way that we should be grateful for it reminding us when we have the experience of gain, also when we have an experience of loss, we should also be grateful. And whatever the loss may be, okay? When you have an experience of loss, you're being reminded that was not it. Because what is intrinsic to your nature, what is intrinsic to your being, is not something you can ever gain, is not something you can ever lose. Because it's intrinsic to your nature, right? How can you gain it? How can you lose it? If you gain it, that means it wasn't part of you. If you lose it, that means it was never part of you. It's like you've lost yourself. Okay? So when you experience gain, when you experience loss, we should be grateful. Do not be overjoyed. Yes, of course, be grateful that you have, be happy, experience that contentment, but don't grasp onto it. Be careful of that mind that so desperately wants to fulfill the definition of it being, that it will have a sense of, oh, okay, it's done. Okay, let me stop now. Okay. All right. And we can say that with all the other ones, with being praised, a sense of validation. That also is the reason that we feel a sense of contentment, is because it's pointing to something. Okay, so whenever we experience any of these things, one way of dealing with them so that they don't become trouble for us, but rather have a sense of gratitude towards them. Thank you for reminding me. Thank you for reminding me. Okay, so that we want, what is that state that that Milarepa, that Nagarjuna, and all those, and I say Milarepa because Milarepa is known for having talked a lot about the eight worldly thoughts in such beautiful ways. What is that state that they want us to get to, where they tell us, now you have overcome the eight worldly concerns? Is that you have reached that contentment within you that is unshakable, where it doesn't matter if you gain something or if you lose something. You will not be overjoyed because you gained something, and you will not be overly depressed because you've lost something. Because you already, that is not, and you could say, and you can throw it to the very, attach the very word worldly to it. It's worldly. It's not part of your being. It's not a gain of being. It's not a loss of being, but rather it's something in the world that the world says it's a gain. It's something that appears in the world that the world says that's a loss. Okay, and for you, the appearance of gaining something is not a real gain. So that's not what your contentment is dependent on. Your contentment is dependent on having a deep connection with your truth. And when I say with your truth, I'm not talking about some ultimate kind of thing necessarily. I'm talking about whatever your truth is. Whatever is true for you, whether relatively speaking or ultimately speaking. Okay, so we think that we have mastered our relative truth appearance, but believe me, no. Okay, no, it's like the expression "I don't know myself." I don't know myself. Basically, mean I have no awareness of the very thing that I could call the relative me. And we need to first have direct understanding of that. Okay. Oh, I'm nasty. Is that true? That's my relative reality. I appear to be kind. I'm fearful. I am and and understanding and to be relative, understanding that to be these are the part of me that's constantly flowing. That's the constant appearance. Okay. I'm an angry person. And it shouldn't be imagining that you are an angry person because for some reason being angry is somehow spiritually chic. Or I'm not an angry person because being an angry person, not being an angry person is somehow spiritually chic. Okay? That's not it. If relatively speaking, that's your truth, you should know it. And only by coming to know these things, you could say the aspects that come and go, that seems to be connected to flowing identity. We have to really come to know it. Okay, I like chocolate ice cream. Okay, that's not my identity, but it's something that is a real experience. That's a truth. Okay, but a relative truth, not that for as long as I exist, as for as long as I have existed, and for as long as I will exist, I will like chocolate ice cream. That is not the truth that I'm speaking when I say right now, here now, for as long as for a certain period of time, I'm liking chocolate ice cream. Okay, and that's the truth. And just because it's not spiritually chic to like chocolate ice cream, so I'm gonna impose myself some kind of personality. I don't like chocolate ice cream, and deep inside you, you're craving it. You're not being truthful. And if you're not able to be truthful at the relative level, how are you going to be able to discover the truth at the ultimate level? Okay, and this is a kind of a Taoist. Well, it's not entirely Taoist, but I would say the Taoists make a big point about that, to the point where it's misunderstood, where they say just be yourself. Be yourself, whatever yourself is. And they give some examples of, if you're a thief, you're a thief, okay? Be yourself, okay? It doesn't mean that stay a thief forever. Recognize that you're a thief. That's why you keep finding extra pens and extra stuff in your house. You're denying yourself, okay? I can acknowledge it. If you're someone who's angry and you think that someone who's calm, and when someone says, whoa, 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 why are you angry? What do you mean, why am I angry? I'm not angry. Why are you perceiving an angry person? I'm a very calm person. I'm a spiritual person. I'm calm all the time. What do you mean I'm angry? You have no idea who you are. How are you going to be able to transcend that? Okay? Acknowledge it. Ah, that high pitch, my voice raising high, that kind of heat that I feel, those are the things coming together that say, oh, that's anger. And it's happening here. Okay, acknowledge it. Okay. All right. So the thing with the so-called eight worldly thoughts is not so much get rid of these things, but rather come to understand them. Come to understand where you are. Okay. There's nothing wrong with seeking gains, whatever those gains may be. Gaining gains in knowledge, gains in, you want to be the first trillionaire on the planet. So there's somebody do that already? I don't know. But the thing is, is being attached to it somehow, thinking that when I become the first trillionaire, I will fulfill the definition of being. You're fooling yourself. Okay? And when you actually become the first trillionaire, you'll be a very disappointed trillionaire. Okay? But when you understand that's not what defines you, that's not what fulfills the definition of being, it's just in the world, they call it a gain. Okay? But you already found contentment already. And it doesn't really matter if you gain or lose anymore. But I mean, how much time do we have though? Okay, good, we have enough time. So I can say some more. Okay, all right. So the problem that we have in getting rid of the 8 worldly thoughts is the lack of understanding. It is not asking that feel guilty if you want to gain something. You want a promotion at work, that's a gain. You want to raise, that's a gain. You want to expand your business, that's a gain. You're not spiritual anymore. Get out of here, okay? And you're gonna, you have that, you somewhere within you, you want that. Somewhere within you, you see some sort of relative importance of it, and you're seeking it, and at the same time, oh, I'm not supposed to have any gain. I'm not supposed to be attached to gain. What if I gain it? Then I'm gonna be happy that I gain it. That's gonna be 8 worldly thoughts. They're gonna kick me out of the spiritual club. Okay. No. It goes back to that's not what will be the means to experience what will be. This is the definition of being, the fulfillment of the definition of being. Okay. Don't be attached, so that as you're working for the gain doesn't arrive, you're not disturbed. And by disturb, I'm not talking about you don't try to change your method. That's what I'm talking about. Please don't get it twisted. That's not what I'm talking about, okay? As you're seeking to have your gain and you don't get it, your contentment, that deep contentment, is not dependent on gaining it or not gaining it. It doesn't mean that you should not experience gain whatsoever. Okay? I mean, there are some people, unfortunately, who believe that they're being spiritual by depriving themselves, basically becoming, like having the emotion of a rock, and they think having the emotion of a rock somehow makes them spiritual. No, you're not a rock. Okay, it's the rock's nature to be a rock. Okay, your nature is not to be a rock. Okay. So, yeah, be happy, be sad when they're happening. Yeah, because those are things that come, happiness and sadness are things that come together. They come into existence because the conditions are there. The conditions of happiness is there. The conditions for sadness is there. And don't be attached to them as though somehow we identify with them, thinking that that's my identity. Okay. And that's the last thing about the sense of the disappointment. Okay. We are desperately seeking to know who we are in truth. Relatively, that gives us some kind of happiness, some kind of contentment, not happiness, but contentment, because you can experience pain while you're content, okay? All right? And you can experience suffering while every seemingly wonderful condition is you're surrounded by it, okay? So that's not what the the contentment or suffering is dependent upon. It's not dependent so much on those kinds of things, right? Okay, right. Let's get back to what I was talking about. So the disappointment that we experience is we desperately want to know what is self. Okay, and I am choosing the word self as opposed to saying me. Who am I? Okay, but this mystery, this incredible mystery called self, we seek to know it desperately. And it's in the desperation that we settle for what appears to us as fulfilling that. Okay? And it doesn't matter what seems to promise to give that to us. So when we are happy, we think that we have found it and we want to hold on to it. And when we are sad also, we think we have found it and we want to hold on to it. Okay. And when there's attachment to gain and loss, blame and praise, and the other ones, pleasure and pain, fame and insignificance. When there is any overly being emotionally reaction to these experiences, it is because at first, because of this desperation, there's a sense of, okay, I have solved the mystery of self. And because it is not the solving the mystery of self, that's where the disappointment is really hits. It's really painful. Because it is something deep that we are seeking, something that is truly meaningful to us that we are seeking. And somehow in the interaction, we've concluded that we have come to that, we have solved that, we have acquired that which is truly meaningful. And because it is not meaningful, that's where the disappointment comes. Okay. So I guess the last advice here is enjoy your gains, be sad with your losses, but don't be attached don't be attached. Okay. Look at it as, this is the coming together of a bunch of things, and that's why they're there. And when one of those elements is no longer there, or some other element comes in, then they will not be there anymore. That's the nature of things. And it doesn't mean that we should live life like, I'm going to use a term from the Christian Bible, is it? Or I'm not sure where it is from, but it's in the Bible somewhere. And it's not a direct quote. It's something like, for those who are, how does it go again? For those who are hot and for those who are cold, there'll be some kind of reward. But for those who are lukewarm, who have no temperature whatsoever, I will spit them out. Okay. So being calm, being even is that your contentment is not dependent on whether you gain or loss or the 8 worldly thoughts in that sense. Okay. They're not dragging you, they're not pulling you in there. Okay, that's the kind of calm you want. But When you have gain, of course, be happy. Don't be spit out of the mouth of you know. And when you're sad, yeah, that's the condition. Be sad. That's the relative reality. You can't disrespect relative reality. Guess what? There's no other reality. How are you gonna disrespect relative reality? What? There's some other reality that you should respect. That's the only reality there is. Okay. So that's the relative reality. You're sad. Yeah, that's it. I'm sad. I'm happy. Yes, I'm happy. But I'm not attached to it. Okay. A very lame way of saying it, it will change. Okay. Okay. All right. I think we reached that point. Now it's time to you ask questions, say something. Okay. And I hope I have solved your fear about the eight worldly thoughts. Okay. You're not supposed to be afraid of them. You're supposed to understand them.
Hey, Phuntsok, I have a question.
Yes.
Okay, this is around excitement and being overjoyed.
Yeah.
So I don't know how to abstract this, so I'm just going to use a direct example. Personally, I think of myself as calm, but when something goes my way, I get really, really, really excited. And the excitement is very, very uncomfortable. So I try and lean towards the calm.
Yeah.
So am I denying my experience by doing that?
Yes. The answer is yes. When you're excited, look at it. That's an experience. The thing is, don't get caught up in it. Don't throw your identity in it. Don't think it's find that part of you that believes I have fulfilled the definition of my being, and that's why I'm excited. Watch out for that part that is participating in the experience. If you're excited, be excited, but don't get caught up in a sense of that's my identity. That's in a sense. And don't let it be in such a way that you become dysfunctional. Dysfunctional meaning that it will actually damage other experiences. It will give a wrong perspective of or wrong sense of other experiences that should be met with as they are taking place in the way that they're taking place. So the thing is, as you are very excited, just remember just observe it, experience it, or look at, even to the point of saying, look at me, I'm excited, and then and enjoy it. But I guess I'm just keep repeating myself. Don't be attached to it. And not being attached to it means find out that part within you. And it's not something that we're doing consciously, something that is happening unconsciously. Find that part within you that somehow believes, is convinced, I have fulfilled the definition of my being, and this is my identity. This is I have resolved the mystery of self. This is self. Be careful of that. Okay, as long as that view is not participating, at least in any way that you can make it not participate, even though deep within it's participating, but at some level, do not allow that to participate in the experience of being excited. And just, that's what's happening. That's the relative experience that's happening. Honor it. Okay.
Thank you.
Phuntsok, I have a question.
Yes.
I don't know if this is a whole other talk, but it's like bringing up the corollary question, which is, okay, so what is reliable? What is unshakable? Where do we go to get our definition of being fulfilled, if not to all of these places that we kind of intuitively think will fulfill them?
Yeah. So what is reliable? Basically, you've asked, okay, can you point the path?
Yeah, it's probably a whole year.
When it is when you solve the mystery of self, you will have found what is reliable. That is the only thing that is reliable. And in connection with that, I'll give this analogy. The nature of a river. Let's say, for some reason, you don't understand the nature of a river, right? But we are thinking of a river as something that you can take here and then bring over there, right? Something that you can actually isolate and then take it somewhere else. And that's the hope. And whenever we encounter something that seems to be that, it's not exactly that. So we experience a kind of disappointment, right? So that river that is not river is not reliable as a river. Even though it gave the promise that, hey, when you find me, you can take me here and put me over there. But when you finally encounter a river, you come to know what river is. It's not something you can pick up here and then put it over there. Okay, it's the very constant flowing of water that's what river is. And you can rely on it to be that. Okay. Sort of pointing a little bit to, yeah, okay, great, excellent. All right.
Wait, I have a question.
Yes.
Hi. It's been so long. I don't really know what the question is. It just maybe you could, if you could expand upon the piece about the contentment being dependent on your truth, like, and the relative truth being necessary to reach the ultimate, like especially with regard to, and I know that there's no inherent good or bad, but when your truth is seemingly bad, like you're a thief, or you know, in my case, lately I feel like a bitch, you know. It's like you know, I just like have little patience, don't really want to interact with a lot of people, whatever. I just like, how do you contend with that, you know, like that this is the truth and it doesn't match or align with the expectations of the world, you know? I don't know. I don't know what the exact question is, but like you wove that in, and I just need a little bit more around it.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
the sense of contentment that you will experience as far as being being real with your relative truth, right? It's not, I'm not talking about pleasure. You will experience pleasure. I'm not talking about I'm not talking about the contentment that is that is equal to what we will say is pleasure, or you will experience a sense of pleasure. You will experience a sense of contentment more in a sense of a freedom, a sense of letting go of a misperception of holding onto a misperception of what should have been there or what is supposed to be there, but rather you're encountering what is actually there. That encountering of what is actually there, I'm talking about relative and not about ultimate, okay? That encountering of what is actually there, like the example I was giving, like I'm really, let's say, I'm an angry person, I don't know it, but I'm holding on to an idea that I'm a peaceful person, something like that, right? But when you encounter the truth, oh, I am an angry person, that very encounter will give you that sense of contentment because you have encountered the truth. Not necessarily that experience will give you pleasure. That is, the experience of being an angry person will give you pleasure. No, but knowing that's what is there, that knowing will give you contentment. And that knowing will give you contentment, will also give you the clarity of knowing that's what it is to be an angry person. These are the conditions that make someone an angry person. Now you will really know. You will have a deeper understanding of that. And you will also find a sense of a freedom where you can put it on and take it off more easily than before. And that sense of freedom to be able to take it on and take it off will give you a sense of contentment. Okay. Yeah. It's for those hard-headed Buddhists out there, this teaching is coming from where when you're meditating and you want to reach shamatha, you cannot reach shamatha if you don't see the problems of your mind realistically. Oh, this is the problem that I have. Okay, my mind does this, my mind does. If you don't see that, if all you in your mind is the fantasy of one day having shamatha, without looking at your mind for what it is, you will never reach shamatha. Okay. So you have to look at what is actually there and honor them. They are part of reality. They're stuff of reality. You have to honor anything that exists. You have to honor the very fact that it participates in existence. Not that take pleasure in it necessarily, but in that sense, honor.
It sounds like shadow work. Like you got to honor the darker stuff in order to integrate it. Like, even if it's not great, that's what's going to help you understand it and transmute it.
Yeah, transmute it. Yeah, that's what will help you transmute it.
Okay.
If you don't go through that, transmutation will not take place.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah. We don't, the path is not about living in an imaginary world. Okay? Imagining that I'm a peaceful person when everyone sees me as not so peaceful. Okay? Imagining I'm a courageous person, I'm going to save all sentient beings, and I'm afraid of my own shadow. Okay. If I don't see, I'm afraid of my own shadow. By seeing that, knowing that it exists because the necessary relationship are there, then I can one day actually have that bravery that I honor. All right.
Phuntsok, I have a question for you. Many years ago in Reading, you had made a talk about this as well, which was deeply profound for me. You gave the analogy of the ice cream as well, of not getting too overexcited because of it. And then when things get tougher, because eventually that's going to dissipate, the flavor is going to dissipate, and not to, you know, and eventually something rough will come into your life, and not to get too depressed when that happened. So I love that. I thought that was a great analogy. And I was going through life saying that, not to get too excited when good things would happen, because impermanence, that would change. Then about 5 years ago, I worked with my brother, and he unfortunately passed away very suddenly through a massive heart attack. And the clients were all calling in. So it was a commentary. I had to rehash everything over the next 3 months after, you know, he passed away. So my comment was, how do we, I get it, it's a lot easier when things are going well, right, to say this is great, you know, but not to get attached to it. But how when a family member or someone who you love, and you do have, you know, we love them, you're not supposed to have attachment, but I had some attachment to him. He was my brother. How do you, and I kept saying to myself, all right, this isn't permanent, this is going to change, things will get less negative. But it took a very long time for me to come out of that, much longer than I've ever had to deal with anything in my life. And I've had other things happen, but for whatever reason, this one took a lot longer to get over. And I would say, again, repeat to myself, this is impermanence, this is going to change, it's going to get better, but yet it took much longer than I had expected. So my question with that, and to curtail it, now I have a 10-year-old daughter. If something were to happen to her, she's my daughter, I love her, I'm not supposed to have attachment to her, but I would, you know, I do, in a way, I have attachment, because I would feel upset if something happened to her. So if you could.
Yeah, right. There's a confusion about attachment, okay? The love, the tender feeling that you have for your daughter, that's not attachment. Okay, that's not attachment. And feeling sad because someone who meant a lot to you is no longer with you, there's nothing, that's not attachment to the person. Okay. Feeling sad that someone who meant a lot to you is no longer with you is honoring them, is honoring what that they meant something in your life, and they're no longer here. It's honoring that. Okay. The attachment, and it is healthy to become a bit destroyed when we experience tragedy. It's healthy to have that experience. And you could say the faster that we allow ourselves to go through that process, the process of love, of loss, the faster we will be able to have the experience sort of do what it's supposed to be doing. Okay. And unfortunately, Buddhism has a very bad reputation, or there's a very bad misunderstanding about Buddhism, and when it presents the topic of attachment, because it seems to be telling us that when you lose someone, don't be sad. When don't worry about when you love someone, don't love them too much. That kind of stuff. As though, for me, there's no such thing as loving too much. Okay. There's no such thing, right? You either love or you don't love. That's it. That's only two things. There's no such thing as loving too much. And when we experience a sense of sadness because of something that happens to someone we love, a tragedy or something painful, something suffering, something that is painful that happened to that person, and we feel the sadness, that's speaking to how evolved we have, how evolved we are, that we can actually feel in such an intimate way a pain that for all worldly purposes, there's not something that directly happened to you, but yet there you are in pain. That speaks to a level of connection that we have established. That is a spiritual gain. That's a sign of spiritual progress, of spiritual evolution. Okay. But the thing is, the word is overdoing it, and overdoing it means where you're overtaken by a behavior where you literally become dysfunctional to yourself. You become dysfunctional to those around you. Let's say, for example, that you were stuck, let's say you were stuck in the depression of the passing, that you're no longer able to fulfill your role as a father for your daughter. So that would be an over thing. But we can understand that if it happened for some period of time, that's healthy for you to say, okay, I cannot do this right now because of this experience. And what this experience is saying is, this was very meaningful to me, and I honor the meaning it has for me. I'm honoring that, and that's what we should remember. That's what is happening. To say that we are by attachment, we are being told to not have those kinds of humane feelings, and then that's why I always point to the stories of Shariputra and Maudgalyana, who were very, very, very good friends and direct disciples of the Buddha, who at the time of the Buddha had already reached the highest that can be reached, right? So that means whatever attachment there is, they were free of it. They no longer had attachment, right? Now, Maudgalyana was eventually killed, and Shariputra was beside himself. He wailed, and this is an arhat who has no more attachments. What is this? What, he lost his arhathood or something? The news of his best friend having passed away somehow made him no longer an arhat, and that's why he was crying, and that's why he couldn't control himself anymore, because he was so lost in the loss of that. No, he was honoring the deep friendship he had, and that was a way of expressing that deep of honoring it. Okay. So when you lose something that's very meaningful to you and you feel depressed, that's natural. That you should feel that way. And people have different ways of going through that, and you go through it the way you're going through it. And understand that doesn't mean that you have something that you shouldn't have because you're expressing this. You have attachment, get rid of that. That's attachment. Attachment is grasping onto something with misunderstanding of the thing, misunderstanding of yourself, and you putting expectations that neither one of you can fulfill. And you keep holding on to that. That's attachment. Okay? That you love your daughter, that's not attachment. It can develop into attachment where you are imposing on her to give you something that she cannot. That's attachment. But because you care for her, you're evolved. Okay, you deeply care for her. You're evolved. And because your brother, because you were depressed that you lost your brother, you're evolved. Okay, it's not attachment.
Thank you.
Okay. I think this should be the last, because we have 5 minutes to reach enlightenment.
Well, Cheryl had her raised a hand. I don't know if.
Oh, yes, please. I didn't see the. Please go ahead.
Thank you. Well, first of all, that was beautiful, your response to his question. It was a lovely question. I was thinking of, in terms of expressing anger, in terms of being not that nice a person, what about our Buddha nature and kind of having that flow through us and expressing that? How does that coincide with what you were talking about? Mm-hmm. You know, recognizing the Buddha nature within us, mm-hmm, and expressing that to others.
Mm-hmm. And anger being there?
Yeah, he's saying, oh, I'm an angry person. I'm not a kind person, and that's just how I am. And then being yourself, is that okay? You know, what is, in terms of,
oh, yeah.
You know what
Remember,
I mean?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's not, this is how I am, in a sense, that's how I'm going to continue until the end of eternity. Presently, yes, that's what's here, an angry person. Yeah, that's because my mother did this to me, my father did that to me, in my past life, the king did that to me, the peasants did that to me. Okay, now they're coming together, and now this is it, angry person. That's what's here, that's what's there. And the thing is to acknowledge it, that it's there.
And not you acknowledge it as relative,
as relative reality? Exactly, as relative, yeah. It's not your ultimate nature. It's not who you are. It's who you've always been. You will always be. But that's what's here right now. Because if we don't acknowledge it, how are we gonna transform it? How are we gonna transcend it? What are we gonna transcend? The characteristics that we are imagining that we are, they're not there. How are we gonna transcend them? Okay.
Thank you.
Only what's there that we have to acknowledge and then we'll be able to transcend. And also, because they are there, they have existence. There should be a sense of honoring that part of it. Not take pleasure in it. Not say, okay, this is it now. This is what I'm going to continue forever. But rather, this is what's here now. And that let's say, for example, that idea that I have about being a peaceful person, I will never really be that because I'm not acknowledging that the angry person that is present. Did anyone have their hand up? Okay, all right. Thanks for catching that. All right. So then let's do the closing meditation. The same closing meditation that we're going to do. Let me get on my seat. Create the intention that you are going to enter meditation. And by merely recalling the experience, start to re-experience, start to feel that you're tasting it again in the body, in the breath, in the mind. And take a nice deep breath to reconnect with that. Through the nose, breathe in. Through the mouth, breathe out. Let go, let go, let go. Let yourself go into that experience. Let yourself go into that. Let go, let go, let go, let go. Let you palpably have a sense of being in that. Now, whatever comes to mind, whatever experience comes to mind, think of us. And see us with all the individuals that make up that us, forming a circle. And in the center of that circle, there's that which sort of embodies us. That almost that one thing that people feel that they can point to, say, oh, that's them. And we say, that's us. Feel it in the very center of that circle. And it's bright, and we are connected to it by a string of light from the heart into its center. And we are making it grow, and it's making us grow. And our growing is appearing as that center light beginning to expand, taking space, becoming bigger and bigger, larger, taking more and more, taking more and more. Keep relaxing. The more you relax, the more it expands. The more you relax, the more it expands. The more it expands, the more you relax. Until each one of us is lost into that us, that one appearance, that luminous appearance. It keeps growing, keeps growing. It keeps growing, and it takes on the environment that we are sitting in. It takes on the neighborhood, and our families immediately included in there. All our friends are immediately included in there. It continues to grow, continues to grow. As it continues to grow, it now, the district, the city, the state continues to grow. And everything is just part of that light, continuing to expand until the entire earth is that one luminous us. Every mountain, every river, the clouds in the sky, birds, the trees, the rivers, the oceans, the lakes. Every life form is an us. Just like to hum a finger is not just humming a finger, it's to hum us. To take care of a finger is not just take care of a finger, it's to take care of us. And let yourself get lost into that us. It includes all life. And gently begin to see that light being receding. And even though it leaves the sky, it leaves the tree, it leaves that mountain, it leaves those lakes, it leaves those birds and those other beings, there's still that sense of us left in them, that experience of us left in them, until it comes back to us again, and it comes to the center again of our circle. And remember, the sense of the individual did not disintegrate, was not completely destroyed in order for there to be an us. And the sense of us was still experienced. So that fear of losing something in order to gain an us is taken care of. And make your dedication, your Sönam Yeshe Tsokzo Shin Sönam Yeshe Zachung Damba Kunyi Topa Sho. And that center us now in its mysterious way without losing its complete totality, integrity, goes into that stream of light of each of us and completely merge with each one of us. So each one of us becomes an us. Become aware again that you are in the meditative state. Rejoice witnessing the signs. Make the intention to arise from the meditation. With that, take a nice deep breath that you feel and hear in through the nose, out the mouth, and deliberately, joyfully reconnect with your immediate surrounding, reconnect with your sense of touch, the temperature, the clothing, the seat, the different sounds, the close, the far, and the lights, the colors, the different shapes. Thank you. Good night, everyone.
Good night. Thank you.
Good night.
Thank you.
Good night. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good night.
Good night.